Oh. They don't know, look.
Yeah.
To be fair, I said last week I'll take a narrow loss to Seattle on a win. Is up the Rebels. Oh. I always go to like press a button because I'm used to recording it at home. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the RBNY UK podcast. And obviously following on from last week's interactive podcast, we are back in person. Following on from the two games this week, which we'll be talking about, and obviously looking forward to the game this weekend against Orlando City, and also inducting the next person into the RBNY UK rafters. But first of all, Luke, how are you doing, my friend?
Very good. Happy to be here. Happy to talk about Red Bulls as we're slowly picking it up.
I was going to say, if we would have said about 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, you was happy to talk about the Red Bulls, something must have happened. But obviously, we've come off a week of a very long away trip all the way over to Seattle, obviously on the West Coast, and obviously then featured up with a midweek game away to Miami, which was affected by the rain delay. But overall, we got 3 points. I know obviously last week we actually did discuss it. We both come to an agreement that it would be quite good just to get a good performance in against Seattle and obviously a win against Miami. So before we go into more detail, it's actually been quite a solid week.
That's been a solid week. It's disappointing to lose 1-0 at Seattle, but they're a very good team.
Yep.
I think I'm pretty sure they're top of 8 at the moment.
Yeah.
Let's see if we were going to win a game, it was likely going to be at against Miami. And let's be honest, coming from the next few days, there's going to be a lot of talk about Miami now.
Yeah.
With a possibility of Messi going there at some point in the future. So, and I do believe if he comes into Miami for the start of during this season, which is debatable, his first game could be at Harrison at Red Bull Arena on August 26th. And that would be a packed stadium that night, if so.
Yeah, I was going to say it'd be a very busy MLS crowds wherever. Obviously, there is quite a lot of talk as well that he'd probably be loaned back to FC Barcelona for the foreseeable future until at least a Copa America. But it would definitely bring more eyes to the MLS. Yeah. And I feel like, whereas you can see it a lot, no one ever knew anything about the Saudi Arabian League. Ronaldo's gone there, potentially Benzema's going there now, and it looks like they're picking up audience size as the week goes on. However, I feel like it's already got the infrastructure, the MLS, to actually just go straight away. Yeah. Apple will go big on it. So, like I said, it'd be quite interesting. However, I'm no doubt there's Inter Miami fans agree with me all over the world that there's no way in this God's green earth that Phil Neville can actually manage Lionel Messi.
I do wonder how he's actually doing the job. Well, I do know. Yeah. Because knowing your boss. Yeah. Like for years. But he didn't really improve the Lionesses. If anything, he held them back by not winning trophies. I mean, look. The new manager comes in.
Serena Wiegman,
wins the Euros straight away. They're putting him among the favourites for the World Cup in Australia starts. It was shortly actually. Yeah. And I think he's a very lucky man.
Very.
And he's actually in his 3rd season in charge now.
I can't believe it. It feels like he only just joined the league. Yeah. Saying that, it feels like Inter Miami is still a brand new. But they've been around for a while.
Also, we talked to this Miami podcast.
Yeah.
But he's not really achieved that much.
Nah, not at all.
Like 2020, okay, it was a COVID hit. The league was very up and down. It was an awful league that year. Everything is 10th. No jet squeeze in the playoffs. Yeah. Because I changed it. But that year had 4 DPs. Remember, it was all that big thing that too many players and all that. And last year we Jets boat managing the playoffs, I think. I see something like Miami and Beckham behind it. You think they'll be pushing for 3rd place? Yeah, at least.
That's like when we spoke last week. Obviously, going on to more Red Bull focus, but we spoke that anyone realistically who's playing in Miami, no matter if it's on the road or at home, are expecting 3 points against them at the moment. They're at the basement of the East. They're not doing well at all, and it kind of reflected in their game last night. It was a very bizarre game last night. It really felt, obviously, it started a bit late due to bad weather, but it felt like a basketball game at the beginning.
Yeah.
There was 3 corners in the first 2 minutes. There was chances. It was after one of the first set pieces, obviously by us. It literally led on to a one-on-one against the keeper. Lucky enough, Wiki Carmona got back and made the tackle. But actually, looking at our lineup, obviously from last night, it was quite intriguing in the Miami one, because obviously now we're getting players back, and that is the main thing. There's players back in that roster that are fit and healthy and getting back in the squad.
Yeah.
All right.
Morgan's back.
Yeah, no, say Morgan come off the bench, but you're looking at the starting lineup. And you got Frankie Amaya who's come in, and he looked sharp on the ball there. You had Stroud obviously as well, but then Wiki Carmona's been fantastic. Laquinias is a big one for me.
Yeah.
I think there's no doubt anyone who was watching that game last night, watched the highlights or whatever it was, he was a standout player last night. Yeah. He was so unlucky for the goal. Obviously, Barlow done well to react and put it at the right spot to be able to put in, but the run was magnificent. Yeah. He played very, very well last night, Laquinias. Obviously, how the Red Bulls play, there's always going to be some players who play well and some who don't. But it seemed to me last night that we're really getting this attacking fluidity back. And after, no doubt you're going to agree in a second, that it was painful to watch the last few, well, pretty much the season up until Troy and Lassane come in. But it's just good now to see a team that you want to watch rather than a team that you're watching thinking, why am I watching them?
Yeah, I mean, like, let's be frank. Like, obviously, Gareth Stuber, his departure was. It wasn't. I don't think it's as United ever like make out.
No.
Like, obviously, the whole Dante thing really dumped his cause.
Yeah.
But this team was his team.
Yeah.
He had no excuses this year, and he had a very, very poor performance when he was in the league.
Yes.
And I don't think it's a coincidence since he's left. Nah. They've picked up more. I think they've picked up more points already. Picked up more wins already. They have.
Yep.
Since he's been gone. And yeah, it's like, and players look like they want to play again. They look like they're sharp with their ball weighted back.
Look fitter.
Look like they want to be there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's great to watch and get to really see this, which is a really young home team, and they are in the fourth position. Because this team's not 11th place position.
No.
And this year's not going to be a Sports Shield.
No.
It's not going to be win. But get to MLS Cup playoffs.
Yep.
And as long as you're in it,
anything can happen.
Anything can happen. We've seen it before. We've seen Cinderella's story happen before.
Yep.
That happened to Red Bulls in 2008. Where they barely made the playoffs. Had to go through the West.
Yeah.
And they went all the way to the final. But it can happen in MLS. It will happen in MLS. There's no reason. If Red Bull continue their form, and being on since Troy came in, they will make the playoffs. It's simple as that, to be honest. Like,
yeah, I'll just piggybacking on that. Like you say, now, especially with the likes of people getting back in the squad, it was at one point, it was kind of, you was putting a team out. Now, it's really the only 11 players that you could put out. But now Lewis Morgan's coming back, it moved Dante Venezia more as a number throughout number 10 rather than, because he's been playing in that 10 role at the moment.
Look at this team last night. We've got him here. And Carl Duncan, right, start off with a goalkeeper. Coronel.
Yeah.
Given, never ever going. No one's ever going to take that spot unless he's seen some big captains. Carl Duncan, right back. That's still a point of subject for me. Reyes, Sean Neal's. Tight.
Yeah.
Great parent. John Tolkien left back.
Same again.
Now we're going to cut that. Frankie Amaya in that sort of more
deeper role.
It's interesting because we've never really seen him in that role before. But you've got Peter Stroud, such a young player.
Class as well.
He went to college or did he skip college? He skipped a year of college to come here.
But this is the thing obviously when he was drafted in and then how it all works, I was expecting, he's going to be on the bench. Obviously, it doesn't help that Julian Edelman is Daniel Edelman, even Julian Edelman is an old NFL player, but he's obviously out in Argentina at the moment, the Under-20 World Cup, and big miss up with everyone thought. But Stroud has stepped in and he's shown that he's a capable player.
I remember when it was announced, so I don't think we had to draft him because he came through our academy, so we got to sign him. And it was seen as a big coup
Yeah.
for Red Bull. So a lot of people thought he was going to go to Europe.
Yeah.
He's so talented.
Well, he had time at West Ham.
So West Ham, people thought he was going to Europe. And there's no reason why he can't be with Newcastle Adams.
No, not at all. Like I say, he gets around the pitch very well. He conducts himself in a very professional manner as well. He seems someone who's got a lot more experience than what he is, and that's how you know when there's a good player.
Exactly. And also you have Kamara on the left, who I think had a really good season this year.
Yep.
For a player who hasn't really been what I would call an 18 player.
Yeah.
He's been like MLS reserve. Really.
Yeah.
You've got Dante in that number 10 role.
Yep.
We know Dante. We don't know. Everyone knows Dante's inclusion in the team is still a sort of for some people. But it is what it is now.
Yeah.
It's not going to change.
I think he's a good player.
He's a good player. Yeah. And me personally, I probably wouldn't want him back.
Yeah, I think it's one of them.
But Red Bull also made their case now. They made it clear I'm going to stick with him. I'm not changing their mind.
No, it's,
so we got on with it now.
I think you've seen it a lot in other areas of football. John Terry, when he done it at Chelsea, was back in. Suarez. As long as they do their time, they actually. And I think the difference is where it's like a John Terry or one like that. If the media reports are correct and whatever, he's in it for Belgium. Whereas the John Terry one, Suarez was just pure out a racial slur. It's a bit of language barriers. I'm not condoning it, but I'm just saying like sometimes that happens in football. It's happened in the Premier League before, and it's just you speak with the player and be like, look, you can't say that. There's some things in the English language that we would have said 10 years ago that you can't say now. So if someone's second language, even second, third language is English, it can happen.
You want to spend too much time on it.
No, yeah.
We all know.
Everyone's been,
everything needs to be said.
Yeah.
But he does, we don't know if it's true or not, he does seem generally apologetic.
I think you could see that straight away as well.
We don't know if that's true, we never know.
If you're reading into body language, when it actually happened, he wasn't in an aggressive stance. But like we say, that's all duck off the water's back now.
Everything in that situation has been said, and my people are much more adventurous than us. So you've got the Quinnets on the right hand side.
Yeah.
A credible player.
Yeah,
still doing it for us so many years later. And this man up front, Corey Burke, what a season this man's having. Because a player who, correct me if I'm wrong, you might put it differently. He wasn't brought in to be our number 9. He was brought in to be a bench player, definitely.
Whole career's merely been a bench player. So.
And he's leading this line on his own at the moment.
Yeah, and like we say, even off the bench, obviously Cameron Harper did get sent off yesterday.
Got Thierry was back.
Yeah.
Nadam, who obviously left Liverpool for a bit.
Yeah.
Now make his way back up through the twos. He's a player who's an interesting player. Hasn't really had impact since buying professionally. Permanently.
Well, it's like we say, we look at the bench as a whole yesterday. Well, obviously, Ryan Meara is obviously always going to be the backup number 2 at the moment. Drew Yearwood, Hadam, Manuel didn't even come on. Cameron Harper obviously come on, got sent off. Morgan and Caceres, and obviously Tom Barlow, who scored. But it's a strong bench now as well. Yeah. Whereas before it was, you could look at the lineup before the game and go, him, and him are coming off the bench. These 3 youngsters are not coming off the bench. Now it's a case of you've got strong attacking options. Lewis Morgan being back with his fantastic new platinum haircut. Yes. Fair play to him. Fair play to him. But like I say, for the goal, just talking about the goal briefly, obviously penalty was saved, Cole Duncan. Was it a penalty? Yes, it was a penalty. It was a stupid one. It's one of them, it's more instinct than actually thinking. Grabbed his shorts as he was running over. It's one of them, you see him not give him. It is a penalty. Not the greatest of penalty. Coronel comes up with a big save. Then, obviously, the goal later on in the game, the Queen has made a fantastic run. Went past one, and it looks like he's just about to find the bottom corner, comes off the inside post. But Tom Barlow done very well. For people who haven't seen the highlights, but watch Barlow, because what he actually done very well was he went into the middle where the centre-back was. He actually bodied him in the middle. He actually stood off like an old pick and roll in the NBA. Stood there so the defender couldn't get to him and then passed it in. So he's done very well to be there.
Tom Barlow is someone who I've given him a lot of flack over the years.
Yep.
And a lot of Red Bull fans have. But you have to give him credit for it. Every year he turns up to do his job. And he knows he's not a starter. I know that. He knows that. But he comes to do his job. And it's just a lot about the sort of person he is, I think. But he's consistently been above like what you would call better forwards. Like he was getting on the head of Kamala, actually. Yeah. Now he's getting head on Manuel. So there's much something about him in training on his personality. But
I was going to say that
he's through 3 managers now.
I was going to say, I think if any people out there have had coaching experience or anything like that, when I've been fortunate to coach in the past, is if you had 2 players on the table, you had one player who's the most gifted player in the history of the world, but doesn't want to have a good attitude and stinks up the gaff, really. Or you've got, on the other hand, you've got not the greatest player, but will give 110% every time he's on the pitch. Yeah. He's a model professional in that terms, and that's why he deserves his chance, because he gives everything he can every time he's on the pitch. And I think whereas quite a few times this season we've seen him come off, actually start, he's not a starter. He knows that, we know that. He's very good at, I personally think, coming on at half-time or 75th minute and running, impacting the game, because he's strong, he's tall. So there's promising stuff there to take into, obviously, the game against Orlando this weekend, which is going to be quite an interesting game. And there's one thing I've got to say about Inter Miami. The last thing I'm going to say about them, I was laughing and joking when someone come off the bench for him called Harvey Neville.
Say that.
Yeah, Harvey Neville.
Phil Neville's son.
Phil Neville's son.
That is.
And the best thing is, if anyone wants to look this up, have a look at his career path. Started at Man U.
Man City.
Went Man City. Then guess what? He went Valencia when Gary was there.
Back to Man United.
Back to Man United. Then he went to Inter Miami. So he's literally just piggy banked off everyone. So fair play to him. There's no doubt.
If I'm not a definition on that, baby.
Yeah.
What is?
Yeah. So like we said, that's the last we'll talk about that game. Like this, quite to pick up the 3 points. Obviously, Seattle and Inter Miami over the two games.
Note that David Carver is also very forward. I don't think he came on.
No, not. I don't believe he did. No.
He's on the bench.
If he did come on, I do apologize. It was 3 a.m. when that game finished. I was quite tired. Even though I did have to near enough apologise to my next door neighbours when Tom Barlow did score, because I did rather yell out, but then I remembered it is about 2:30 in the morning.
We're not great.
No, but obviously moving a bit now on to the weekend's game, and obviously it's going to be a very challenging game. Orlando always is.
Oh, a good team.
And they've got, if outside of the Red Bulls, got one of my favourite players to watch in the league, Facundo Torres. Obviously, he's been linked heavily with a move to Europe. Been linked with Arsenal quite heavy, but he's some player, this Facundo Torres. Obviously, Uruguayan international. Been selected in all their squads, World Cups included. They're just a good player to watch. And it's one of them that... Well, that's clever, isn't it? Well done. But yeah, it's one of them that shame to see he's at Orlando, because obviously I would love him at Red Bulls, but it's going to be a challenge to stop him this weekend. However, if he is going to play off the right, I think it's going to be a fascinating battle between him and John Tolkien.
Yeah, I agree. Well, also, I think the goalkeeper is probably the best goalkeeper in MLS.
Very solid, yeah. Always gives you a 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
always.
I think he's, for me, he's the best MLS goalkeeper. Orlando, team, they're odd teams. We're never really. They always seem to start really well, but always seem to dip at the end, don't they?
I was going to say, they're always there and thereabouts.
Yeah.
You know you're going to get a tricky game. Yeah. Obviously, it helps when you're not going all the way down to explore a field. Yeah. But obviously, when you're playing them at Red Bull Arena, it always seems that we play them in Orlando. It always seems that way. Obviously, not this weekend, but it's going to be rather interesting. Obviously, some of their big names of the past have now departed, but it's going to be a very challenging game. And obviously now, with players coming back, you've got the options now of who starts. Obviously, don't expect to see Lewis Morgan start for a while. It's going to be one of them. They probably might start after the international break. They probably blood him in. He had about 20 minutes last night. Maybe give him 30 minutes Saturday. Slowly working up like that. But I think it's going to be quite an interesting game. I've got more confidence at the moment of everything to do with Red Bulls. Just sole fact of it's good football, and that's the main thing. Good soccer, as you should say.
Good soccer, yeah.
But how are you feeling ahead of obviously the game this weekend? Because hopefully, it won't be a rain delay, because that is the curse of the Inter Miami Red Bulls game. It's always on bloody rain delay or storm delay, including, I think that was one that kicked off at 3:30 a.m. once, which was fun. I have to apologise to my employer the next day while I was half asleep. But obviously, they're doing quite well, Orlando. I think it's only 2 points in it on the actual table. However, they've got 2 games in hand. We've played 2 games more than them.
Yeah.
So, like I say, there's a chance to skip up the table a little bit. But I think it's going to be a tricky one to call this weekend. I really do.
Oh, definitely. I completely agree. It'll be very difficult. I think they're a very good team in general, Orlando. Yeah. Even when you're, I remember we played some passionate and battle them. Actually, I probably remember. But they're a very interesting team, Orlando.
Yes.
Like we're actually one of the few MLS teams that came from USL. But not many teams from out the state, and they're a good team. Obviously, they won US Open Cup last year.
Yep.
You always look back at that as I think that could have been us if we didn't lose 5-1.
Yeah.
Because we were playing Sacramento Republic.
Yeah.
Who we fancy our balls to beat.
Yeah.
Well, I've actually been in the league 8 years now. So closing to 10 years now because we're still a new team.
Yeah. But obviously, looking more a focus on Red Bulls now. Is there anyone you expect to see changed in the lineup? Obviously, we know now that Cameron Harper is suspended because there might have been a call for obviously him to come in. Personally, I'd like to see Dylan Nealis come back in. He's one of them that splits a bit of opinion. I personally really like Dylan Nealis. I think he's another one of them players that gives you always a solid performance. So I wouldn't be, obviously Duncan's just coming off injury as well, that they won't want to play. I wouldn't have thought they'd play him twice in 4 days. So I probably would expect to see Dylan Nealis back at right back.
I think you might see CCJ back in the team again, possibly.
Especially rotation, right? Yeah. Especially like Liquinius and Frankie Mard. I would say might even see a Drew Yearwood appearance as well.
Peter Stripe had quite a few games recently.
Yeah. The thing is, I could even see Barlow starting. Because there's only so many minutes Corey Burke can run before he can't run no more.
I agree.
The thing is, though, now we fairly mention Ellis Manuel now at the moment. That he's going to become a fan. It seems like now he's going to be the bench option pretty much all the time. Yeah. But what a fantastic opportunity because he does give it his all. Another one. But like I say, it's going to be, you would think that the lineup's going to be pretty much similar. Obviously, it's going to be Coronel and goal. Everyone knows that. It's definitely going to be Tolkien, Reyes, Nealis. And then it's right back option, which is up in the air. Potentially Duncan stays in or Dylan comes in. And then I expect Stroud still to start. He's just been so good. But then, like I say, I could see Caceres coming in alongside of him. Then you're looking, will they play Laquinias again?
That's a good question.
Like, he played so well, but it's just got to rotate, you know what I mean? Rotation's key. Maybe Drew Yearwood comes in, maybe it's more as that number 10, maybe moves Dante a bit further forward. Yeah. So I think it's going to be quite an intriguing one to see the actual lineup when it does come out for both sides, because obviously everyone knows MLS, you can't play your first team every game. Especially you're looking at the Red Bulls who've just come off going all the way to Seattle, coming back from Seattle to go to Miami on a Wednesday night, to go all the way back to Harrison to play on the Saturday night. It's a lot of travelling. All right, they did look good.
Especially when you're like when you're in the Premier League, you fly pretty much every away game. I think it's 5 games a season I can fly. I was going to get the train. Yeah. And this is America we're talking about. Some of these journeys are like hours and hours and hours. And that's why having such a good record on the road is so unusual. That's why last year it was so critical for Red Bulls to such a good record, because it's just not easy to win on the road because it's so hard with travelling. Yeah. And how, also not just that with travelling aspect, but how, that's just how US is geographically. Yeah. It's so big. We're going West Coast from East Coast. It's such a long journey. Yeah.
But especially you're looking at one of the closer road games. It's the equivalent of us to Newcastle, which is one of the furthest trips.
Our closest rivals, I still class DC. Yeah. That's a 4.5 hour trip to Washington. But it showed how different geographically US is to what Europe. And I think it's something European fans don't appreciate as much as it's a long journey.
But it's like you're playing, theoretically speaking, it's like you're playing Champions League every single game. Yeah. Whereas when people complain about having to go to Eastern Europe, like your Serbias or games like that, that's a standard away game. So, like I say, it's going to be a very intriguing one. Obviously, we'll give our predictions right near the end of that one. But obviously, everyone knows, and the graphic will be, it is ready actually, the graphic is ready, and it's going to debut at the next episode. When I actually remember to send it over. And obviously we didn't know our nomination for today. But obviously our next 7 is obviously Up in the Rafters, obviously where we induct a different legend or player, or not just, it doesn't have to be a player, it could be a coach or someone to do with the actual. Obviously there's one main man for me, and I think.
We should go. So far,
Obviously, first one was Dax McCarthy. That was on your behalf.
And secondly, we had
Bradley Wright Phillips. Yeah, and I think when, especially you think of Red Bull legends, there's one main one that comes to mind. I think for anyone that, no doubt, obviously everyone talks about Bradley Wright Phillips. Obviously, in my eyes, he's the best outfield player in the history of the Red Bulls, and obviously Metro Stars included. And then there's one person when it comes between the sticks, and that is Mr. Louis Robles. Someone who come in from second division in Germany, who barely played there, who was
days before giving up his career.
Who
actually was as a realtor.
Yeah.
And so it's like what was it, 183 games, Iron Man?
Unbelievable.
But we'll never see what happens. Never happen again.
It's just crazy to think that not only during the time of not missing a game, not being suspended, not getting an injury or a cold or a flu, every game he played so well. He always was so good. And that's the thing of now, I always say the greatest of players, the biggest accomplishment or acknowledgement anyone can ask is when people are compared to you. When a player comes into the Premier League, they're compared to Henry, for example. In MLS, especially Red Bulls, any goalkeeper, Boris Coronel included, you compared to Mr. Louis Robles.
Like striker, compared to Louis Phillips. And he's that's a legendary goalkeeper. I think his story is so good as well.
Yeah,
but he was days and days before quitting professional soccer. Like never really made it anywhere in his career. Went to Germany for a bit. Didn't really work out. Came back to the US. British as a realtor, and literally called Ali Curtis, who became Red Bull. At the time was working in MLS front office. Or to get drafted for Red Bulls. I think it was number 4 on the pick, the round 4, and he only played because Ryan Murray got injured. Number 2 got injured, so he got his chance. That was in August 2012.
And you know what they say? The rest is history.
183 games later.
Supporter shields in the bag.
Record.
Clean sheets.
Record
like I say,
appearances.
Coronel got his 25th clean sheet last night, which is second on the list, and he's got a long way to go to even catch. But I think that's the thing of the best way to ever compliment someone is when people are compared to you. You set the standard, not just how he acted as a goalkeeper, but when he was a captain as well. I think the main thing what I always loved from him, how he acknowledged the Southward every single game, is a little touch like that goes a mile. Goes however you want to. He was epitomised what it wanted to be at the time, and the perfect player. He understood everything from the fans to the other players to the management to the higher ups, and you can see it now with all his ambassador work that he does. That's how highly they actually value him, not just as a player but as a person.
I actually think that's something. I think you think of that, what I would call the era of your McCarthy's, your collections, your Bradley Phillips, etc., etc. We all seem to have that in their bag. All really seem to love being part of an organisation, and we're so proud. Loved living in New York, and even though the team is great, I don't feel that all the time with this lot.
No.
Maybe I think it's pretty good we're not asking me to this lot yet.
Yeah.
And it always helps when you win stuff.
Yeah.
Like they won trophies, you feel more connected. But he was such a good captain. And it was what the club needed at that time.
Agreed.
Obviously, McCarthy was basically traded up and knowledge day after his wedding.
Yeah.
Obviously, such a collection become captain. Didn't live up to it. Had a really disappointing season. Obviously, he was traded to Chicago for, let's be honest, Orlando, sorry.
Yeah.
For next to nothing, really.
Yeah.
And Robin took it over. And he did two seasons as captain, so we Jets about kept him for 2 seasons. But Curtis lives on.
Yeah.
Curtis does live on, and because that's happened again. The problem that happened again last year.
Yep. Aaron Long.
I think about that.
Yep.
But such a good goalkeeper, and it's such a great story. 3 Supporters Shields, multiple things, and one of the best things I always think of was 2015 was doing with Peer Profits Club, that town hall meeting. He was It's safe to say the mood wasn't great on the club at that time.
No.
But he was there. What a player. Such a legend. And thoroughly deserved recipient of up in the rafters.
Yep. No, 100% agree. Like, no doubt, when people name their top fives players, even not just their favourite players, their best players or anything like that, I presume 99% of people will have Louis Robles in their five. And that's why he has been inducted up into the rafters. And like we say, there'll be plenty more of nominations, not just of players, but everyone else in the long run. But obviously, closing in now, obviously, we like to always give our predictions ahead of the game. We've got to admit that our predictions weren't too far off. I think I did say, and I'm going to call this one back, I actually did say a narrow defeat in Seattle and then a win down in Miami. I think I did say 2-1 last night, but 1-0, take that with a clean sheet. So, like I said, Orlando now is going to be a tricky game. Very tricky at home. They've got very good players. Good now to see that the defensively is looking better. Attacking, like the offense is looking much better. So, your score prediction?
I think at home, I reckon I can get something out of it.
Yeah.
I will go for 2-1 win. I think there's always a few goals in it, but I think I can win it.
Yeah, I was going to say I can see there being goals.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be similar to you, but I'm gonna go 3-2.
Okay.
I feel like it's going to. I think it's similar to last night's game. It could have easily been quite a high-scoring affair. Rebels do play a bit open, especially with the counter-attacking formation. But I'm going to go 3-2 to the Rebels. And I'm fancying a goalkeeper to bag one. No, just joking. I'm going to go for one of the Nealis brothers scoring this weekend from a set piece. I'm going to say so. Yeah, like I would say, obviously, it's been a very good week.
Yeah.
Obviously. We're getting a bit of a break coming up from midweek, even though they do restart up there again. Obviously, international break is around the corner. 50 days out now from the Cup starting, which is going to be very intriguing. Obviously, the first ever one between us and Mexico, which I think is going to be quite fun to watch. And then, obviously, the MLS All-Star Game is upon us as well for my beloved Arsenal.
Will we have any players in it?
Hopefully, John Tolkien. I think he should be in it. But, like we say, it is against Arsenal.
Carl, he's pretty not going to get it. I think probably will be.
If there's anyone who's got an outside chance, it's John Tolkien. Yeah. But even then, there's some markets. LAFC are always going to have about 7 players in it. So, but like I say, it's in DC anyway, so there's going to be quite a few DC players. So, like we say, it's been another fantastic episode. I know your new segment is National Day of whatever it is. Yeah. So, what will we celebrating today?
Day of recording. Probably be a bit later when it comes out. Well, today is June the 1st.
Yeah.
And as you might have realised from last week's episode, today's a day for absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Everything. So today is National Go Barefoot Day.
Yeah, I don't recommend that. If you're on the beach, I can understand.
National Nail Polish Day.
No, none of that, sadly. National Heinrich Mahmoud. Fair play, that could come into...
Corner awareness, I get that. Yeah. It's a global day of parents. Is that a new Father's Day, Mother's Day combined?
Right, I'm going to get behind my one for today. Is this next one, which is the World Reef Awareness Day. I agree with that. This is another good one. The last one to finish off, National Game Show Day. So if we would have known that before it started, we could have had a nice little segment. Yeah. But however, but sadly,
also, I think this is quite a special one actually. National Say Something Nice Day. Be nice.
Yeah.
Be kind.
Be nice.
Enjoy life.
I was going to say, in saying nice, I had a very nice message from Viking Army wishing me telling me to get some sleep after the game.
You get sleep?
Some. Put it this way, when I went into bed, I heard the birds waking up. So I was like, lovely, jubbly. But like we say, thank you obviously joining us yet again on another episode of the RBNY UK podcast. Obviously, Luke.
8, I think.
8 done now, obviously coming more of regular occurrence and now playing well as well, it's even a bit better. But like I say, we're quite intriguing to see the next week of games and see how we get on. But until next time, only one thing, come on, you Red Bulls.
Right, let's go to the pub. That seems a pretty way to
Yeah, pub.